Thanks so much for joining us. This is another episode of the Ticats Offseason Roundup presented by WeatherTech. Thank you to WeatherTech for sponsoring this, our first kind of dipping our toe into the podcast waters here for the Hamilton Ticats. I'm your digital host, Louie B, and I'm very pleased to be wrapping up our first series here with the CEO of the Hamilton Ticats. That, of course, is Mr. Scott Mitchell, and he's right there on your screen. Scott, it's great to see you. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thanks very much for having me on, Louie. I've been enjoying the podcast so far. Great stuff.
I very much appreciate that, and I'd like to give you kind of the floor for this first question because, you know, I've heard a lot of feedback from fans. You know, obviously they haven't had their football team to cheer for a while, but we've been trying our best to keep them entertained, to keep them going. And I want to give you the floor here to just give a message to our fans, whatever you'd like to say to Ticats fans who are watching this.
Well, our fans are awesome, man. It's been a really special few years, or almost a decade, really, to build this incredible passion with our fan base. We've always had, of course, great fans in Hamilton, but I think in particular since we moved into Tim Hortons Field, we've really established an incredible rapport with our fans. They've just been unbelievably supportive and get Tim Hortons Field rocking every week. And you know, it's really been at times emotional for us through this last year and a half. We've had more than 90% of our fans stick with us with their season seats and leaving their money with us in order to get back on the field. And that's really incredible when you think about it and you think about what's important to our fans. Of course, it's their family, it's their faith, I'm sure, but I'm not too sure that sometimes Ticats football is too far behind on that too. So it's really, really a special feeling knowing the commitment our fans have to the organization and to our players. And of course, you know, Bob's very proud of that as well in terms of what we've built here in Hamilton. So just really want to thank the fans and all of our partners for their incredible support, and can't wait to see them at Tim Hortons Field this summer.
The one thing that I think about when I think about the fans is that, you know, you mentioned the 90% holdover of season ticket holders. Like, for me, it'd be like, I don't want to give up my shot of seeing what this team can do once they hit the field again. Because if you go back to 2019, that team had so many highs. You know, the undefeated season at Tim Hortons Field, you know, just kind of rolling through the playoffs up until the Grey Cup. But that team was so good. And I feel like there's that excitement that even with a pandemic in between, there's still so much excitement around this team that is built currently as it is right now.
Well, I think you're right. I mean, listen, we've played a lot of playoff football. We've had a lot of big wins. We've had some heartbreaking losses, obviously, but I think that that 2019 team was special. There's no doubt. I think there's only been 4 or 5 teams in CFL history that have won 16 football games, regular season plus the playoffs, and been undefeated at home. And it's funny because Coach O surprised me by asking me to say a few words to the team in the end of the year meeting after we got back from Calgary. And of course, everyone was very disappointed. But if I could do it all over again, I would have said to the guys, hey, how many guys in this room and how many coaches have ever won 16 games in a season and put 10 home wins on the board? And I don't think too many guys would have been able to put up their hands. So, you know, it was a very special year. Obviously, very disappointing that we just didn't play well. Really, the only game we really didn't play well the whole year was the Grey Cup. And, of course, all the credit to Winnipeg. They really came in and thumped us. But, you know, that was a team that was 15-3. And really, the 3 losses were games we could have won. I'll never forget Delvin Breaux making a play in Saskatchewan where I think Cody Fajardo must have had super glue on his hand, because otherwise Delvin would have chopped the ball out of his hand at the 5 and we win that game. And of course had a missed field goal or blocked field goal at Calgary to win that game, and recovered a short kick or whatever it was, punt in Montreal where we could have won that game. So it was a special year, great group of coaches and players, and I know everybody's just super excited to get back on the field this year and pick up where we left off.
I think it's pretty telling that you're recalling the specific details of the losses, right? I mean, it's one thing to remember the wins, but you got to remember those losses too. And just talking to the guys, you know, in the last week doing this podcast, you know, they kind of have the same message that you did in terms of, you know, 2019 happened. You know, let's give Winnipeg the credit. They had a great team, but there really is kind of a chip on the shoulder that we have an opportunity to get it done here when we hit the field again.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, listen, we've got a great group of core guys that have been with us for a long time. As I said, played a lot of playoff football, been in Grey Cups, been in a lot of Eastern finals, and you know, we've had lots of chances. Let's be honest, and we're just looking forward to getting over that final hump. And if you want to call it a chip on the shoulder, I think the guys just want to play and compete. And I think O's just got this great mentality on the team. They come out and compete every week, and that's all you can do. And, the fact that the matter is that we got Grey Cup at home this year, which is a significant opportunity for us that I know everyone's pretty excited about.
Yeah, and we're going to get to the Grey Cup 2021. I know we're all excited about that, but I do want to stick on this topic of just the team that we have assembled right now, because you're a football guy. You've been around the sport a long time. And, when I talk about the team with people outside of the organization, they always ask about, Drew Alamang and of course, Sean Burke, and two guys that have really been with this organization, I think combined about 25 years experience with this team. And you mentioned core guys. That kind of starts at the top, right? When you talk about core guys, I think Drew Alamang and Sean Burke and the role that they have and the staff underneath them.
Well, I think on both sides of the ball, or of the football team or organization, I guess I should say, business side and football side, both sides of the ball, as they say. But Berkey obviously came in. He came in from actually MLSE and was connected to me from a friend who thought he did some great things on the community side in Toronto, and we brought him in on the community side. He did a great job and just kept on working his way up through the organization. And, he's just been a tremendous, tremendous asset to the organization, cares about the players and the coaches. He cares about the organization and does a fantastic job. And, of course, Drew Alamang, whose dad played in the league for a long time. Drew is a CFL or lifer, and he came up the hard way, as they say, too. Drew came up through started on the equipment side. And I'll never forget, Dan Rambo was one of the first to kind of notice that Drew had a real talent and acumen for evaluating players. He'd done some reports for Dan, and Dan was a very successful football executive, and he saw a lot in Drew Alamang. And then Obi felt the same way about Bobilovich, and Drew just he doesn't say a heck of a lot. Berkey's the more verbose of the two, but they're a great combination. And of course, they've had some great people that have helped them along the way, whether it be Ken Austin or Bob Obilovich, or as I said, Dan Rambo. They've had some great mentors, and those two guys do a great job. But there's been lots of other people in that organization for a long time. Spencer Bohm, Rich Macero has done a great job for us. Drew Schoenstein, who's our equipment guy, who is like the most talented guy you're ever going to meet, and is just a glue guy for the organization. Drew's been with us forever, and it's just a great group of people that love going to work together. And I miss them all, seeing them all the time at Tim Hortons Field. And so looking forward to doing that. But I think when we first started, we talked about continuity, but continuity only really works if you have the right people. And we definitely have the right people, and it's about caring. It's about, belief in each other and that unity that Coach O talks about in terms of having that one goal. And we certainly feel like we've assembled a good organization. We got to get back on the field and start playing some football.
You mentioned Coach O, and I don't think anyone could have – I mean, you could have predicted the success he had last year, but it's easy to forget sometimes that was his first season as a CFL head coach, winning Coach of the Year, franchise best record, undefeated at home. Obviously, his first year as a head coach had been with the organization. I do want to ask you about, how did you get him back? Because he went to Fresno State, turned their defense around, was the 13th best defense in the nation in college football. And then he came back to the Tiger Cats. I have to imagine that was a conversation that I'm sure you were involved in. So, I mean, as much as you can tell us, I'm curious to know how you got Coach O back up here.
Well, first of all, I'd probably go back to, a tough time in the organization in terms of decision making. I think, Ken Austin had so much success for us for those 4 years. I think it was from 13 to 17, and we've been to 2 Grey Cups and 3 East Finals and 4 straight, home playoff appearances, or 3 home playoff appearances. And after 17, I'd gotten very involved in a lot of other Bob's businesses, and probably, we were probably a bit of a tired franchise at the time. And we lost a playoff game to Edmonton that year. And we'd come off, some success, but really some tough defeats, whether it be the 2 Grey Cups or the East Final in Ottawa. And I think we were just a little bit tired. And so I was probably a little distracted at the time. And in retrospect, we probably could have talked about Kent moving into a GM role full time. I think he would have done a fantastic job. And I bring that up about Coach O because, we probably could have at that time said, okay, Kent, why don't you focus on being the VP of football? Been a great run, but let's move O in to be the head coach. And in retrospect, I think about that all the time. But maybe he comes and maybe he leaves if he doesn't go first to Fresno State. So he went down to Fresno State and had a great time. We stayed in contact, obviously. He did a great job down there. And then, we brought June Jones in to help out the team that year to get him back turned around. And June did a fantastic job. And I was actually down in San Francisco, actually, doing some work on one of Bob's ventures. And O was down in Fresno. And I called him up and said, hey, I'm only a couple hours away. Why don't we have dinner together? And bad news was, he said, well, I'm not coming to San Francisco. I'm working here. I got a team to coach. So if you want to hook up, you better come and hook up in Fresno. So I drove to Fresno, which was an interesting drive, but we had a great dinner, great barbecue place there in Fresno, not far from campus. And I could tell that he was having a great time, but I could tell that he also missed coaching up in the CFL, and maybe college, wasn't what he wanted to do for the next 10 years. And so we had kind of talked about what he wanted to do. And, really it was an unbelievable tribute to both June Jones and Coach O that, O left an incredible job at Fresno where, he'd been nominated for assistant coach of the year, as you said. Really, the world was his oyster a little bit down in the NCAA. But he wanted to come up and he wanted to learn the other side of the football, which, I don't know if there's too many cases of a coach who's that kind of a red hot candidate who kind of wants to give up that specialization that he has as a defensive coordinator and would have been a head coach. And he wanted to come back up and learn the offense from June Jones that June had. And I think that's an incredible person that does something like that. It's about self-improvement for O and really making himself a better coach and a better person. And then to have June Jones, bring O in when he didn't know him, had never really met him, but he'd heard all these incredible things about O. And that was the plan. Let's get Coach O back up here. And June made it very clear that I got to take this year to year for June. He had a pretty good gig going in Hawaii, so I'm not going to tell you I'm going to live in Hamilton 12 months of the year, 365 days of the year. But let's take this year by year. And so I just was appreciative of June willing to do that. And of course, O to come back up was awesome. And as I say, a little bit to the rest is history. And hopefully we can have some more success in 2021.
I mean, June Jones really that I remember, you mentioned the good years that was we had, for a while there, but that 0-8 start and that's kind of when June was brought in as an assistant coach to Ken Austin and really June Jones was a turning point for this organization, the way it's currently built. And just, I think fans, when they look back, they're going to look back at that June Jones hire and think like, okay, I think they got that one right for sure. They got that one right. What can you tell us about June Jones and just about the way he worked and the way, like you said, he was able to hand off this team to Coach O?
Well, I think, again, we had a lot of success in that run with Coach Austin, but that 2018 year or 17 year, I guess it was tough, man. That was the down point of our group's tenure here for sure. And I remember we got absolutely whacked in Calgary, which our organization, our team just hadn't done that in 10 years, whatever it was. And we've been a Grey Cup playoff team, and we just got trounced in Calgary. And I remember. To be honest with you, John Huffnagel called me up at like 6 a.m. the next day and just was trying to cheer me up and said, you got to take a look at what's going on, man. And that afternoon, Eric Tillman and I flew down to Portland. There was a direct flight from Calgary to Portland. ET talked my ear off on a small plane for 2.5 hours, and but it was enjoyable. And we met June at the airport. At a little bar or restaurant at the airport and spent a couple hours with him. And really at that time, we just said, hey, our offense was just struggling like heck. And it was just a tough deal. And Zach was frustrated. Everybody was frustrated. And we just said, hey, would you come up and help us out? And he said, let me think about it. And then he joined us up the next week in Edmonton. And actually we played pretty well that week, but had another loss. And then a couple of weeks later, it just kind of became clear that we needed a fresh voice. And June came in, man, and I'll tell you what, that team by the end of the year was a good team. I remember.
I was just about to say, like, there was that, if we could get in, right? If we could get into the playoffs. And I remember, week 18, week 19, just being like, okay, if we can just get there, like, if we can just win a game. And I think other teams were worried about what that team could have done if they got into the playoffs.
Well, that year, man, we played a game at home against Toronto, and I remember, and of course, Argos went on to win the Grey Cup that year. But I remember Jeremiah just missed Luke on a corner or a sail route, and it would have been a first down. It really would have sealed the game. Luke was wide open, and it's only threw a great throw. It just didn't hook up, and we were in charge of that game. And then they came back, and I think Posey actually got the touchdown on a third down from Ricky Ray, which was just a ridiculous throw. And if we had won that game, we probably would have been in the playoffs, and who knows if the Argos go on to win that Grey Cup. But that by the end of the year, that was a good team, and there was a belief back on the team. And of course, then we rolled back into 18 and really had a great team in 2018, to be honest with you, but just got decimated with injuries. And I think we lost 4 of our starting receivers in the back half of the year, but came back, rallied, won a big game against BC in the playoffs, and then got beat in the East Final. But really, June got us going back. And June really, he brought that mojo back to the organization and got us rolling again. And he deserves a tremendous amount of credit. I'm a much better person for having met June. I consider him a good friend. He's a great dude, very unique individual, but a great guy. And we were very fortunate to have him with us.
Yeah, I don't think I've had as much fun covering any sport, any team than that season with June, man. He's always good for a quote, and I know as a reporter, I always love a good quote, and June always had a good one ready to go.
You guys loved him because he was liable to say anything, so you guys loved him.
Yeah, I always just look over to Go and say, should he have told us that or no? Like that was with June Jones. Let's talk more about 2021 because fans want to know. You're talking. There's the way you're talking about the season, the way we're talking about the Grey Cup. I just have to get you on record here. I mean, your confidence level that football will be played this year.
Oh yeah, we're going to play football this year. There's no doubt in my mind. I got my Grey Cup hoodie on here, whatever you call it, pullover. We're going to play. There's no doubt in my mind. Everybody's incented to play, and obviously, first and foremost, you worry about people's health and safety, and of course, we're going to get through this. I think it's right now we're in this strange period right now where there's lots of good news, but the virus is still there in some ways in Southern Ontario. It's come back a little bit, but I think when you look at the bigger picture and kind of see where we're going to be in May and June, it looks like several provinces will be fully vaccinated by that period of time. Ontario, just coming in this morning, looks like they're going to have about 3 more million doses in the next couple of weeks. And, I think it's been really challenging. And of course, as I said, you always think about the frontline workers and the health and safety of people and how difficult it's been. I think there's a lot of reason for optimism. And I don't have any doubt we're going to play football this year. It's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when we're going to be able to start training camp. And, we're excited about it. And of course, I think the 2021 Grey Cup is just going to be a phenomenal party for Canadians. Of course, it'll be safe and we'll do it the right way. But I think in a lot of ways, it's funny. People tease me for they won't think of me as saying the word emotional twice in one interview, but I think it'll be very emotional for a lot of people to get back together for Grey Cup come November, and I think we'll put on a great show.
I mean, and that's really kind of that's kind of there, right? The Grey Cup 2021, we're it's going to happen, and it just seems like after the year and a half that people have gone through, this is an opportunity to really exhale. Like it's almost going to be cathartic for some people. And I feel like, does that add more pressure to what you guys are doing that, okay, this is going to be the first opportunity for people to really get back together, to really get to celebrate. Do you feel the pressure of that a little bit?
No, to be honest with you, Louie, it's funny. I was driving around this weekend in my car, just thinking about, and some of the staff will laugh when I say this, but I was just thinking about that first game, man, back at Tim Hortons Field, and get the players to run out of that tunnel, out of Caretakers Club, and trying to think about what music we'll be playing, because that's going to be an unbelievable scene when our players come running out of that tunnel for the first time. And I think if anything else, it's just going to be relief, cathartic. I think I think it's not natural for us as humans not to be able to socialize together and spend time together. And I think it'll be very cathartic for people to get back together in a very safe and healthy way and cheer on their Hamilton Tiger Cats. I know I'm sure there'll be some tears, man, when guys come out of that Caretakers Club and get back on the field for the first time. So the fact that we're hosting the Grey Cup is a real blessing. Nothing less than that. And can't think of a city that deserves it more, or a fan base that deserves it more, to really celebrate for Canadians and put on a great show this year at Grey Cup and bring back, really the single biggest sporting event that unites this country. There's nothing like it in Canada, and we are so thrilled and happy to be able to do it this year. And we're going to put on a great show and make everybody proud.
Yeah, I mean, I was there the night, the Grey Cups were awarded, of course, 2021 and 2020 and 2021 announced at the same time. And just being in the club level there at Tim Hortons Field, and to see the excitement of getting this bid announced. I mean, this has been years and years and years in the making, and just maybe go down a little bit of the road that how excited you are to be able to pull this off, and just kind of your expectations for that weekend, that week around Grey Cup.
Well, yeah, I mean, it was a long time coming, and obviously, getting Tim Hortons Field built was key to that. And Tim Hortons Field and Hamilton is a Grey Cup city, worthy city to host every year. So we're proud of that. We're proud of winning a competitive bid, and I know everybody in the CFL knows we're going to put on a great show. And we're just working through some of the issues that we're going to have to think through relative to where we are today versus where we're going to be in November. And of course, there's a lot of moving parts to it. But I think the one thing that everybody knows about our organization is, and a thing maybe I'm most proud of is we're very resilient in our organization. We'll get through it. We've had to build temporary stadiums, and we've had to move into stadiums that weren't quite ready, and we've had to rebuild the team on the field. And whatever we've tried to do, we've really ultimately been pretty successful. And we got a tough, resilient, creative group that can really deal with any circumstance. And I know they're going to do a great job, led by Matt Affnick and our whole business staff. They're going to do a great job. And of course, we've got tremendous support in the corporate community in Hamilton, and our partners and our Tiger Town Council and our Moscow's Meanies. So everyone's going to dig in and make sure this is going to be a tremendous show. And really, as I said, just a real great feel-good moment for Canadians to have the Grey Cup back.
And it's one thing that I've made the argument that it feels like, and I've been covering this team, 6 years now, and it feels like we have been building towards this moment. And I'm not trying to put any added expectations on the team or added pressure, of course, but you talk about Tim Hortons Field. You've been in this role for over a decade now. Going through the Tim Hortons Field process, the team itself, losing those Grey Cups, bringing in Jeremiah Masoli, 8 years ago with Simone Lawrence and Coach O. And it just feels like we're building to something in 2021 that there's reasons for every Tiger Cat fan to be excited heading into the year.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think we've built before. It's funny, you look back at those 13 and 14 seasons. The reality is that 15 team was an incredible team. And I don't think it's a question that 2015 team was the best team in the league that year. And, we had beaten Edmonton out in Edmonton, really waxed them pretty good out in Edmonton. And then I think we were 8-3 and had reeled off 10 or 11 straight at Tim Hortons Field. And we were beating Edmonton at Tim Hortons Field. People forget that Jake Olson went down in that game, our starting left tackle, and then Zach went down. And I'll never forget, Zach went down right in front of us, right in front of the bench. And so we'd built up to that crescendo. And I think I think we were all convinced we were going to win it that year. And I think that was the best team in the league, honestly, in 2015. And we've kind of had to rebuild again. And I think, as you said, I think we've built a great organization. That doesn't mean we're going to win 16 games in any given season. You need a lot of good things to happen that way. But, I'm really proud of the organization we built. Coach O has done an incredible job with the staff, and Berkey and Drew and Matt Affnick on the business side. And, we're going to be a good organization this year. We're going to be a good team. But there's going to be a lot of good teams in the league. I mean, everybody's improved, and certainly there's going to be a bit of a bullet on us or target on us having had the success we had. But I know we'll put on a good product in the field, and with the support we got from the fans, I think it's really going to be a special year for us.
I don't think you're alone in thinking that it's going to be a special year for sure. Scott, I really appreciate the time. I know you're a very busy man, so I will let you go. But thank you so much for doing this. It is great to see you. And hopefully, once we get this thing full up and running, we'll get you back on the podcast here.
Absolutely. I just want a big shout out to our fans. A big thanks again. And of course, I see our staff a little bit, but big shout out to our staff and our players. And can't wait to see you guys all at at Tim Hortons Field and get ready for camp. It's going to be a great year.
Well said. Thanks so much, Scott.
Thanks, Louie.
That, of course, was the CEO of the Hamilton Tiger Cats, Scott Mitchell, and I am Louie B. Thank you so much for tuning in to our first kind of foray into podcasting here. It's been great to have you on. It's been great to catch up with some of the guys. And if you're like me and you listen to these, you're probably really excited for the 2021 Hamilton Tiger Cats season. You heard it there from Scott. You know, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when we return to the field. And again, thank you so much for listening. And I did mention there that this is kind of our first foray into podcasting. We want to hear from you now. We want to hear what you want out of a podcast. Do you want more players? Do you want more coaches? Do you want alumni? Do you want guys who used to play for the Ticats? I guess that's the same thing as alumni, but did you guys who play for different teams maybe? We're going to open the floor to you. So let us know. You can hit me up on Twitter at @LouieB_TV. You can hit us up on Twitter at Ticats and give us your feedback. Did you like this podcast? Was there something missing? Please let us know at Ticats, at @LouieB_TV. Can't wait to hear from you. I would like to thank our sponsor, WeatherTech Canada, for helping us put together this podcast. I'd also like to thank Zach, who's doing all the hard work behind the scenes. He's doing a great job making sure that these podcasts are going out. And the rest of the content team, they are fantastic as well. So I'm going to give them a shout out. Shout out to Sophie, Dan the Man, Corey, of course, Mike, Michelle. They all do such a great job. And I'm just the face that they somehow try very hard to make look good. So thank you so much for joining us. Be tuned in. Follow us on Twitter at Ticats for all the latest news and info regarding the 2021 season. Thanks for listening.